Slide 1. Scientific revolutions may be characterized by the replacement of one fundamental theory by another, changing the scientific practice, but also transforming the outside world, reaching popular consciousness. The theory of evolution by natural selection, as described by Darwin, is an example of a scientific revolution. Today, the theory may be explanatory only if the context is well known and the concepts used are understandable. Although the theory of organic evolution is more than 150 years old and may explain almost all phenomena in biology, the use of the evolutionary theory in the teaching of this subject is astonishingly low. From our experience, almost all teaching in biology, from primary schools to universities, is based on facts or simple mechanisms, including the interaction of a couple of species. Although biological communities on different levels, from biotopes to biomes, may be included in the curricula, only a small number of students seems to understand the evolutionary background and the ongoing processes within these. Slide 2. We have worked with teacher education for some years now, and as you can see, we have made different studies of what to do and how to do it in this teaching. We also have had to adapt to a situation where we have students who will become teachers, some of them with children only 2 or 3 years old in the kindergarten, others working with teenagers or adults. But also, and most essential, we had to find the most important content of the theory of evolution and to adapt it to a suitable content and structure of our courses. Slide 3. Students show different strategies in their way of learning things. Therefore, it's important to present the subject with different aspects using different methods and to help them to use their personal capacity in order to create an understanding where the students can help each other, because most of the teaching has to be done collectively. Slide 4. Together in the classroom, the laboratory, in the field, or in other places, the students may develop their knowledge out of their different capacities. This is a good example of the processes very similar to those in the evolutionary ones. Thus, all teaching and learning should be performed in a social context, where students may help each other to understand and to get different aspects of what they are learning. Slide 5. When planning the courses, we always start with the goals of the curriculum. Secondly, we decide which abilities should be assessed at the end of the course, and thirdly, which content should be included. After this, we design the assessments, and finally, we design the course. Slide 6. Similarly, the teaching primarily has to be planned out of the goals and then performed according to the needs of the different students in order to create knowledge based on their personal possibilities or wishes. Slide 7. When teaching evolution, it is important to remember that a representation, as a picture, for example, of an object is something else than the object itself. Slide 8. It is also important to remember that students almost always try to adapt to the teacher's presumed expectations instead of trying to understand the content of a course. Slide 9. Many students are able to repeat the words of the teacher, but are unable to explain the meaning of them, especially in new contexts. Slide 10. Representations or pictures of objects always differ from the objects themselves. Thus, the theory of evolution and the evolution itself are two very different objects. Slide 11. Whatever we observe in nature, it always is a representation of processes ongoing since billions of years. Slide 12. Always focus on the reality, that is, the evolutionary processes, and not so much on the representations, the present organisms. Slide 13. All observations have to be transformed in some way to create understanding or knowledge. Slide 14. One of the most important things for the teacher to do is to inspire the students to use the cognitive processes. Slide 15. Never forget the difference between the picture of an object and the object itself. Slide 16. Always promote the students' use of different types of questions or ways of learning. Slide 17. The important question is never what, but why. Slide 18. Compare with other subjects in school. What is essential in mathematics, for example? Slide 19. Is it more important to know a lot of words compared to know how to use them? Slide 20. By using botanical gardens, it's possible for students to observe how distantly related organisms perform similarly because of the surrounding climate conditions. Slide 21. Sometimes the conservatories in botanic gardens are very suitable for evolutionary teaching. Slide 22. A good example of this is the Edvard Anderson Conservatory in the Burgos Botanic Garden in Stockholm, where in the different parts of the building you can see plants from Mediterranean climate regions in different parts of the world to make it possible to compare them and also to see similarities of the plants living under similar conditions. Slide 23. Studies of this type should always be made by groups of students, not singular ones. Slide 24. As we can see from this citation, it is very important to promote their own understanding by telling what you think you have learned to others. And this is exactly how the evolutionary processes works. It is the communication between the different organisms on individual, on group level, or higher levels that really develops the organic world. And if you understand this, it's much easier to understand what biology really could be or should be. Slide 25. Thank you for your attention, and please watch this sequence of pictures once more.